We begin today at the Mishnah on Daf Ches Amud Aleph. Zok the Heilige Mishnah, Hareini Nazir Kisar Reishi. Person says, I'll be a Nazir, like the amount of hairs I have on my head. Ukafara Oretz, or like the amount of sand that there is in the ground. Ukachoyla Yam, like the amount of sand at the beach. Hareze Nazir Olam. This person will be a Nazir forever. But the Mishnah explains, what does it mean that he's a Nazir forever? Umegaleach achas l'shloishim yom. He has to cut his hair once in 30 days, which means he's not going to be a Nazir, one Naziris forever. What's the halacha if a person is a Nazir forever? If you remember, the halacha of a person that's a Nazir forever, so he's a Nazir forever, but once in a while he can cut his hair because it gets too heavy. So we learn out from Avshalom, you could lighten your hair. But over here, what the Tanakama is saying is that when you use these expressions, you become a Nazir forever, but that means that you're keeping many Nazirisin. Every 30 days, there's a new Naziris that you have to begin. Like the number of hairs that you have, which is really, we don't know, it's a number that we don't know. So therefore, he's forever counting another Naziris, and another Naziris. Rabbi says, no, this person does not have to cut his hair once in 30 days. Rather, he's makabel upon himself with this expression, one long Naziris, that it's like a Nazir Olam, just one long Naziris, but not that he has to cut his hair every 30 days. Okay, but over here, in this situation though, because the person accepts upon himself, Kisar Reishi Kafara Oretz, he's not a Nazir Olam, which is allowed to lighten his hair, but it's just one long Naziris, and he can't cut his hair. Right, so that's the shail over here. When you say Kisar Reishi, the Tanakama says, we learned this before in the Gemara explained, when a person accepts upon himself a Naziris, and he uses an example of how long his Naziris is going to be from something that has no limit. Sar Reishi, Afara Oretz. These are things that are not set, there's no limit to them. So such a thing, we say that really what he intends is to accept upon himself many Naziris and one after the next. But Rabbi says that no, when using this expression, it's going to be one long Naziris. When, according to Rabbi, will he have to cut his hair once in 30 days? When will he agree to the Tanakama that it's considered to be many Naziris and one after the next? If he uses a plural term, it doesn't say Nazir, but he says Nazirus. Since he says Nazirus, and then he says Kisar Reishi, like the hairs of my head, or Kafar Oretz Kechoyla Yam, like the sand, so then I say that it's going to be many Nazirisin, one after the next. Zok the Mishnah, Hareini Nazir, Molei Habayis, and Molei Akupa. Person says, I'll be a Nazir like what fills this house, or like what fills this box. So what does this mean? So here, this is a kind of expression that's also unclear. Before, a person says, Sar Reishi Kafar Oretz, so we know exactly what he's referring to. It is a number that has no limit, but he spells out what he's referring to. But when you say, whatever fills this box, or whatever fills this house, it could be many different things. How do we know what fills this box or this house? So here, in this case, the halach is Beit Kenaisa. We have to actually ask him. Im Amar, if he says what he intended with this expression was, Achas Gedoyla Nazarti. I meant to accept upon himself one large Naziris. And why is it called Gedoyla? So we already learned before in the Mishnah, sometimes when a person accepts upon himself Naziris, he uses an expression which makes it sound huge, and the reason is because it's a big deal for him. It's something that's difficult for him to fulfill. So then if he says that's the only thing he meant by this expression, so then Nazir Lamed Yom, he'll be a Nazir, just one Naziris for 30 days. But if the person says, I didn't have any particular intention, I used this expression, and whatever it means, it means. So we have to tell him what this expression means. So then, Rayan Esakupa, we consider this box ki'ilu himeleya chardal, as if it's filled with small mustard seeds, or the house, as if it's filled with small mustard seeds. And then what does that mean? V'nazir kol yamav. He becomes a Nazir his entire lifetime. What does this mean? He becomes a Nazir his entire lifetime. So here as well, you have the machlokes that the Tanakama and Rabbi argued about in the previous case of the Mishnah. Either that means that for his entire lifetime he has to keep on counting 30 days and another 30 days of Nazirus, or according to Rabbi, it's one long Nazirus because you have all these mustard seeds. These mustard seeds are tiny. In a box or in a house, for sure, it's endless amount of mustard seeds, and therefore he's going to be one long Nazir his entire lifetime, according to Rabbi. Another halacha is the Mishnah, Hareini Nazir mikan ad mokem ploini. I'll be a Nazir from here until the distance to go to that place. So oimdin kama yomim mikan ad mokem ploini. So we estimate how many days it takes to travel from here to that place. In Pachas Melamed Yaim, if it's less than 30 days, so then Nazir Lamed Yaim, his Naziris will be 30 days. As we've learned already before, there's no Naziris less than 30 days. V'im Lav, if it's not less than 30 days, meaning it's longer than 30 days, so Nazir Kiminyan Ayamim. So then it'll be a Nazir the amount of days that it takes to travel to that place. This was quoted already before in the Gemara, and there the Gemara explained that what this is speaking about is the person he already began traveling on his way. If he already began traveling on his way, that's how we interpret his words. Final case in the Mishnah, Zok the Mishnah, Reini Nazir Kiminyan Yemai Sachama. Person says, I'll be a Nazir like the number of the days of a solar year, 365 days. So, well, how long of a Naziris is this? Meine Naziris Kiminyan Yemai Sachama. He's going to have to count 365 Naziris, meaning 30 days, 365 times 30 days of Naziris. What's the reason for this? So as the Rosh here explains, 365 Naziris. Right? So the reason is, if he would not use the term Kiminyan, if you take out that word Kiminyan, if the person would just say, Hareini Nazir Ki Yemai Sachama, so then that would mean that he accepted upon himself to be a Nazir for 365 days. Why did he add that word Kiminyan? Like the number of, I accept upon myself, Naziris, like the number of the Yemai Sachama. That means that he's actually accepting upon himself 365 separate Naziris of 30 days. So that I mean, this is also
I'm sorry, 365 days.
365 times 30.
Wow.
Correct? Yeah. Yeah, and this is also only according to the Tanakama of the Mishnah, as we'll see in the Gemara. According to Rebbe, because he doesn't use a plural term, he said Hareni Nazir. He didn't say Hareni Nazirus. He said Nazir. If he uses a singular term, so then it will not be 30 days Kiminyan Yemai Sachama, as we'll see in the Gemara. Amar Rabbi Yehuda said about this halacha here that the Tana just said. Ma'isahaya, there was such a story with an individual that said this lashon Nazir Kiminyan Yemai Sachama, and he counted those 30 days of Naziris again and again to 365. And Kivin Shehishlim, when he finished counting all of his Naziris, Meis, he passed away. So I saw the cheshbon that's made. How long does it take to count 30 days, 365 times? It's about 30 years and 5 months. Yeah, so this person kept these Naziris. So Rabbi Yehuda is bringing a right, what the Tanakama says, that when you use this expression of Kiminyan, Yemai Sachama, that means that you have to keep on counting again Naziris and again, like this person did, and it took him over 30 years and he passed away. Okay, perhaps. Depends when you start. Okay, Zok the Heilige Gemara Royin Esakupa. So the Gemara focuses on this case of the Mishnah when it says that you have this person that said the Naziris like a box, like a filled box. So the Mishnah said that if he tells us that he just said this lashon, and however we'll interpret it, that's what he meant. So then we consider this box ki'ilu meleya chardal, as if it's filled with mustard seeds, and v'nazir kol yamav, and he's going to have to keep on counting Naziris for his entire life. Frag the Gemara, ve'amai, why are we so stringent with this person? Instead, let's consider this box as if it's filled with kshun deluin, with melons and gourds, or with squash, or things like that. Instead of seeing it as if it's filled with these tiny mustard seeds, let's see it as if it's filled with larger vegetables, and that's going to be much easier. And therefore, he'll have a remedy. He'll be able to keep this Naziris and get it over with. So actually, the way the Rishayim explained this, that there's 2 points here. Number one, it's not these tiny mustard seeds that he's going to have so many Naziris that he has to count again and again. It's kishon v'delon, which might be much less than that. And besides that, by the mustard seeds, because mustard seeds in a box or for sure in a house is something that you can't count. It's ain't like kitzusa. It's endless. So therefore, a person has to keep on counting without any end. And every 30 days is a new Naziris. But when you talk about a box that's filled with melons, so let's say you have 30 melons, 40 melons inside of it, that's something that you can count. When a person uses a language in Naziris with something that you can count, what happens is he doesn't have to keep Naziris every 30 days again. All it means is he has to keep Naziris the number of days that there are, the number of melons. That's the number of days that he has to keep his Naziris. So that's much easier. One Naziris for, let's say, 40 days, 50 days, and that's all. So that's the question. Why are we so machmer with this person to consider it as if there's mustard seeds and he has to keep on counting Naziris in his whole life, basically? I mean, the Gemara's question is also based on a point that we learned before, that anytime a person says a lashon for Naziris and you have a suffix what he meant, we always say we take the lenient approach, or mekel. So over here we're taking a very stringent approach. So the Gemara brings you're right, this idea is dependent on a machlokes. When a person says this kind of a lashon, whether we interpret it in a stringent way or in a lenient way, it's a machlokes. Rab Shimoni, and our mission is following the opinion of Rab Shimon. Rab Shimon said, Adam machnes etz atzmai l'davar. A person, in using this expression, intends to enter himself, to place himself into this concept in a way shesfeikei chomer mevadai. That now, because we have a suffix what he meant, so now it's going to be even more chomer than if we would know for sure what he meant. This is part of the person's intention. When a person says this kind of lashon which is unclear, he intended to do it exactly what his lashon means, including if it's a suffix, even though it's going to come out to be a tremendous chumrah. Over here in this case, either way, if you're going to interpret his words, and we're going to say 100% that we know what it means, right? For example, if you're going to say for sure that he meant to say mustard seeds, so then once every 30 days, he can bring a carbon, and that's how he continues his whole life. If you're going to say for sure that we know that what he meant is a box filled with melons, so then he brings the Naziris, he does the Naziris according to the number of melons that there are, and then when that's over, he brings a carbon, and that's it, he's done with his Naziris. Over here, what's the problem with this person? The problem with this person is that after the first number of days, that would be like the amount of melons that there is in this box, he's going to be able to bring a carbon for Naziris, but then following that, he's not going to be able to bring anymore a carbon for his Naziris. He's not even going to be able to bring a carbon every 30 days either. Why not? Because there's a suffix here. Could be that his Naziris is just the number of melons that there are in this box. And if that's the case, he only has to bring a carbon for Naziris once. He can't bring any more carbonis for Naziris following this. Because now it's not a carbon Naziris anymore. You can't bring chulin into the Azara. Or maybe he actually has to bring a Naziris for every 30 days, like mustard seeds. And every 30 days he has to bring another carbon. So basically, after the first time this person brings a carbon, now he's going to be stuck. He's not going to be able to cut his hair once every 30 days to bring a carbon again, because maybe he does not have to bring a carbon every 30 days. It's a suffix. So the fact that a person puts himself into this suffix creates a tremendous chumrah. But Rab Shimon says that this is the person's intention. He used this ambiguous term, and he intends to place himself into this suffix, and that'll have to be machmer. Where did Rab Shimon say this? The Tanya, we learned in the Braise, Hareini Nazir al menas sheyehei b'kri zeh meyakur. Person says, I'll be a Nazir, with the condition that this pile here has in it the amount of 100 kor. Now what happened? Then he came there to this pile, and he sees that it was stolen from it or got lost part of it. Now he doesn't know whether his condition was fulfilled or not. So what happens? Does he have to become a Nazir? Does he not become a Nazir? Rab Shimon Oyster. Rab Shimon says that he has to be machmer to be a Nazir. Shesafik Naziris lahachmer. When a person says this expression, and now we can't see whether it actually had that amount that he said or not, so he's going to have to be machmer. That's another. Here we see again, Rab Shimon says in this situation, this person is really going to be very stuck, because on one hand he's going to have to keep his Naziris, misafik, but at the same time, he's not going to be able to bring a carbon for his Naziris. Because could be he's not a Nazir, so he can't bring the carbonis for his Naziris, so he could never end his Naziris. Rab Shimon says a person that uses such a kind of condition, part of his intention is that he will accept upon himself to be the Nazir, even if he'll be stuck with this Naziris. That's Rab Shimon. Rabbi Yehuda mater, but on the other hand, Rabbi Yehuda says, no, in such a kind of situation, the person will be mutter. When a person uses this kind of expression, and now it turns out that this pile, that it's there, we can't see if it had me'akor or not, we have to be me'kol. Which means when the person used this kind of a condition, if he comes there to that pile and he sees the me'akor that he said would be there, he becomes a Nazir. If you don't see any me'akor that you said is there, so then he does not become a Nazir. So Rabbi Yehuda says we take the person's word and we interpret it in a lenient way. Okay, so this concept regarding the Naziris right over here, whether you're lenient or stringent with the way a person says this term that's not clear, it's a machlokes here, Rab Shimon and Rabbi Yehuda. So our Mishnah is going according to Rab Shimon. And Gemara brings down another pshat. So this was the pshat of Chizkiah. Now the Gemara brings the second pshat. Rabbi Yechanan Amar. Rabbi Yechanan says, Afilatayme Rabbi Yehuda. I can tell you that our Mishnah will follow Rabbi Yehuda's opinion. So Rabbi Yehuda said that you have to be lenient. Why in our Mishnah, when the person says, like, I'm accepting Nazirus, like, what fills this box, are we so machmir to say that refers to what? Like a box that is filled with mustard seeds? The answer is, there's a difference between this case and the case Rabbi Yehuda spoke about. Hassam, in the case Rabbi Yehuda spoke about, the person does not become a Nazir at all. He said, I'll be a Nazir if I find 100 kur in this pile. When he came to this pile, there was no 100 kur there. So therefore, he does not become a Nazir at all. That's the way Rabbi Yehuda understands that case. But in our case, he says, I'll be a Nazir like what fills this box. So Nachis Leila Naziris. Here, we definitely know that this person becomes a Nazir. So we just don't know how, what kind of Naziris. Is it a Naziris like the mustard seeds that fill the box? That's the amount of his Naziris? Or does he become a Nazir like the melons that fill the box? So if so, how can we take this person out of this Naziris? Now this person gets stuck with this Naziris. So so Rabbi Yechanan says there's a big difference between the case where we don't even know Bechlal if the person becomes a Nazir. There we say Taka that we're Mekel, that there's no Naziris at all. Over here, that definitely is Naziris. So therefore, in such a case, Rabbi Yechanan says Rabbi Yehuda will agree that he's stuck now with this Naziris. We don't understand his intention. So the Gemara says, wait a minute, let's look at this a little closer. Why would he get stuck with this Naziris? Frag the Gemara, Amai, why would he get stuck with this Naziris here? Amai, loilechsi, lekupa, ki'ilu, meleyak, shon, deluin. According to Rabbi Yehuda, that says that we have to be lenient in interpreting what this person meant. So why can't we see his expression, like this box that's full, that he meant to say, like the box that's full with melons or things like that, larger things. And if so, therefore this person could have a remedy. What's that remedy? And the Gemara explains, Hasol kedaitoch, you're saying now that Naziris hu de kibul ulavei, that this person accepted upon himself many Nazirisin, not just one, but many. And therefore, there is a remedy for this person. What does the Gemara mean to say by this? What the Gemara means to say by this is that in this situation, when you have a suffix, whether he accepted upon himself one Naziris, that's as long as the number of melons that there are in this box, or if he accepted upon himself many Nazirisin, which is like the number of chardal that's in this box, he for sure could bring one carbon. He should be able to bring one carbon and consider it to be the Naziris of that Kishuin and Deluin, which are the melons. You're going to say maybe he accepted upon himself the Naziris like the mustard seeds, and the mustard seeds he's going to have to bring many karbanis. True, if it would be like mustard seeds, he would have to bring many karbanis once every 30 days. But at least the first time that he brings a carbon, he could bring a carbon because mimanavshach, either way, whatever his naziris was, he's going to have to bring a carbon. If it was for the kshun and deluin, so then he has to bring a carbon the first time for the amount of what that kshun and deluin was. If it was like mustard seeds, so at least the first time he's bringing a carbon, which is okay as a nazir. All the additional times that he would have to bring were going to be mekel. He will not have to bring all the additional times, right? If it was like mustard seeds, then that means every 30 days he has to bring a carbon. So true, we're not going to be machbar on him to bring every 30 days another carbon, but according to Rabbi Yehuda, there's no reason why he shouldn't be able to bring the carbon once, and then mimanav shach, that carbon should be accepted for his naziris, and because we're mekel, that should be enough, and his naziris should be over. So the question over here is, if our Mishnah follows Rabbi Yehuda that says that we have to be lenient, why aren't we being lenient with this person, to bring a carbon one time, and that's it, and to finish his Naziris? So the Gemara answers that Rabbi Yehuda Savala Kerebi. The reason is because, according to Rabbi Yechanan, the way he's explaining our Mishnah, according to the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda, that says that you have to be lenient with Naziris, but nevertheless, Rabbi Yehuda holds like Rebbe in our Mishnah. What did Rebbe say in our Mishnah? Rebbe says, that when a person accepts upon himself Nazirus, like the numbers of hair that he has, or like the numbers of sand that there is, that doesn't mean that you accept upon yourself Nazirus once in 30 days. Rather, it's one long Nazirus that you take upon yourself. And when do I say that the Naziris is once every 30 days? Only if you use the plural term. Only if you said, I accept upon myself Nazirus. Then I say that you have to take upon yourself Nazirus once every 30 days. So what's the Gemara saying here? Over here, the same exact thing applies to this box. When a person says, I'm going to be a Nazir like what fills this box. If you hold like Rebbe, so then you're going to have a problem. If what fills this box is melons, so then you're going to have to bring a carbon when the number of days corresponding to the number of melons that is over, and then that one carbon is the end of your Naziris. But if you're going to say that your Naziris is like the number of mustard seeds in this box, what does that mean according to Rebbe? According to Rebbe, mustard seeds does not mean that once every 30 days you have to bring a carbon. It means that it's one long Naziris and you don't bring a carbon until the end of that Naziris. So therefore, in this case, because it's not clear what the person meant, so therefore you can't say, let him just bring the first carbon and Mimanav Shach end his Naziris. Because it could be that he meant to say one long Naziris, and so he can't bring even the first carbon. Maybe the first carbon that he brought is going to be Chol and Lazara, because maybe he meant one long Naziris. So if Rabbi Yehuda holds like Rabbi, so then we can understand why he gets stuck with this Naziris. He can't even bring his first carbon either. But on this the Gemara asks, is it actually true that Rabbi Yehuda holds like Rabbi? Rabbi Yehuda misavar la kerebi. Does Rabbi Yehuda agree to Rabbi? Vatanan, but we learned in the Mishnah, Hareni nazik kiminim ma'isachama. Person accepts upon himself the Naziris and he says like the number of the Yemai Sachama. What does that mean? So in the Mishnah it said that he has to count 30 times 365 days. And on that the Gemara brought the story. Omer Rabbi Yehuda, Ma'isahaya, there was a story with a person that did this, and V'kim Shehishlim Meis, when he completed counting all these days, he passed away. What is Rabbi Yehuda saying here? Now, if you're going to say that this person accepted upon himself many Naziris in 365 times that he's counting 30 days, so this is the reason why that he says that once he counted all these 30 days, 365 times, so then he died. So that's what Rabbi Yehuda is saying, that he has to count 365 times 30 days. But if you're going to say like what Rebbe says that if a person does not use a plural term Naziris, if you use a singular term Nazir, so that just means one Naziris for 365 days. If that's what you're going to say that this means here as well, he accepted upon himself to be a Nazir once for 365 days, mi hava hashlama klal. Can this be referred to as a shlama, that this person filled in all of these times of counting Naziris? So Taisus over here says, the expression the Mishnah uses, that he was mashlim his Naziris and then he passed away. The lashon of mashlim is only when you have many Naziris in and you're counting again and again and again. That's when you can use the term hishlim. So according to Rebbe, you can't use the term hishlim at all, because you just have to count one Naziris. It's just about 1 year, 365 days, that's all. So then we see over here, Rabbi Yehuda holds that even when a person accepts upon himself, when a person accepts upon himself this lashon of Nazir, 365 days, communion, 365 days, what does that mean? He has to count every 30 days another Naziris. Not like Rebbe. Rebbe says it's one long Naziris. You don't have to count 30 days again and again and again. So that's one raya that Rabbi Yehuda does not hold like Rebbe. Another proof that Rabbi Yehuda does not agree to Rebbe. Does Rabbi Yehuda hold like Rebbe that it's just going to be one long Naziris? But we learned in the Braise, Rabbi Yehuda says, if a person says Hareini Nazir Minyan Hilketi Kayetz, like the number of this pile of dry figs, or Minyan Shibali Shmita, or like the pile of these kernels that were left for the year of Shmita. So what does this mean, this expression? Meine Naziris, he has to count on many Nazirisin, Keminyan Hilketi Kayetz, Keminyan Shibali Shmita, like the amount that there is in this pile of figs, or the pile of these kernels. So what do you see here again? That according to Rabbi Yehuda, how many Nazirisin do you have to count? You have to keep on counting again and again, 30 days for every Naziris. Well, it's Rebbe's opinion. Rebbe's opinion is that in such a situation, you just count one long Naziris, not 30 days again and again. So again, we see that Rabbi Yehuda does not hold like Rebbe. So the Gemara answers, it depends. These cases are different. Why is that? So the Gemara, and for the Gemara, minyan shani. When a person uses this term minyan, And when a person says that I'm going to have Nazirus like the number of 365 days a year, or like the number, minion, of these piles of the dry figs, the word minion means that you're going to count 30 days and another 30 days and another 30 days. That's where you can have, but in a case where a person did not use the term minion, so then he would agree to Rabbi, that if a person says you're accepting upon yourself Nazirus like what there is in this box, so then it would be one long Nazirus. It's not going to be a Nazirus that you have to count every 30 days. Frag the Gemara.
Rabbi Umayr in this case?
Oh, so the Gemara now asks on this. Frag the Gemara, but Rabbi L'chayra doesn't agree in this case as well. Mi shani le Rabbi minyan. According to Rabbi himself, does it make any difference if the person uses the term minyan or not? The Gemara here is going to prove that according to Rabbi, the point here is the difference is if he uses the term Nazir or if he uses the term Nazirus. If he uses the term Nazir, so that means a singular, one long Nazirus. If he uses the term Nazirus, so that he becomes a Nazir, many Nazirusin. But whether he uses the term minyan or not, that doesn't matter. And the Gemara here brings as a source of this. What Tanya is, we learned in the Braisa, Hareni Nazir, Kim minyan Yemai Sachama. I'll be a Nazir, and he uses the term minyan, like the number of the Yemai Sachama. Maina Nazirus Kimini Yemai. So then he counts Nazirus again and again, 30 days, like the number 365 days of a solar year. Kimei Halavana, like the lunar year. So Maina Kimei Halavana, he's going to have to count Nazirus again and again, like the numbers of the lunar year, like the Yemei Halavana. Rabbi Aimer, even regarding this case, when a person uses the term minyan, Rabbi still says, Achi Yaima Nazirus Alai Kimini Yemaisachama or Kimini Yemaisalavana. Only if a person uses a plural term and he says Nazirus, then I say that he's going to have to count many Nazirusin. But if he did not use a plural term, so then the Lashon minyan is not going to mean that he's going to have to count many Nazirusin. Okay, so the point is that we can't say that Rabbi Yehuda holds like Rabbi, because according to Rabbi, if you use a singular term of Nazir, which is what we're talking about over here, we're discussing over here this case when the person accepted the Nasiris for this box, and it's not clear what this box contains inside of it, so he used only a singular term. So we can't apply, and we can't say that over here Rabbi Yehuda holds like Rabbi, because we clearly see that Rabbi Yehuda disagrees with Rabbi. Okay, so the Gemara explains that Rabbi Yehuda savar la kvasei b'chada upala galei b'chada. Rabbi Yehuda agrees to Rabbi in one case, and he argues on Rabbi regarding another case. What does this mean? Savar la kvasei b'chada. He holds like Rabbi regarding one case, and the Bach over here adds into the Gemara that chada Nazirus kibul alaveh. He holds like Rabbi that when a person uses this kind of a lashon, he says, I'm going to be a Nazir like the numbers of hair that I have, or like the numbers of mustard seeds that there are in this box. What does that mean? It's one long Nazirus. In this detail, he holds like Rabbi that if you use a singular term Nazir, so you're going to become one long Nazir. In that detail, he holds like Rabbi. Then in another detail he argues on Rabbi. The ilu Rabbi Yehuda shanile maina. According to Rabbi Yehuda, there's a difference if the person used the term minyan. When a person uses the term minyan, even if he said a singular term Nazir, the word minyan will mean that he now has to count many Nazirisin. Rabbi lo shanile maina. According to Rabbi, it doesn't make a difference if the person used the term minyan or not. As long as you use the singular term of Nazir, it's always going to be one long Naziris. So the point, the conclusion of the Gemara is that because Rabbi Yehuda agrees to Rabbi that when a person uses the singular term of Nazir, and he does not use a term minyan, he just uses a singular term of Nazir, so that's going to mean that it's one long Naziris. When a person accepts upon himself Nazirus of what's contained in this box, so now, even according to Rabbi Yehuda, this person is going to get stuck. Because it could be that it means melons, and therefore it's going to be one Nazirus, that's the number of days of these melons. Or it could mean one long Nazirus, which is like the number of mustard seeds, and it's a very long time, and therefore he can't even bring one carbon, because it's one long Nazirus. If you wouldn't hold like Rabbi, so then you would say, after 30 days, bring one carbon. And then Rabbi Yehuda says, we could be Mekel and your Nazirus. But because he holds like Rabbi, and therefore Rabbi says that it could be it's mustard seeds, and mustard seeds would mean one long Naziris, as many as the mustard seeds are, so he can't bring any carbon here. And that's the pshat in our Mishnah regarding this case of the box. Okay.
The amount of days, 300 and that's it?
If you said 365 days, yes, so then it's 365 days and that's it.
So it's just going to stop in the middle of Chaydesh, in the middle. Usually it's 30.
No. If it's one long Naziris, so then it's 365 days, one long Naziris. And if it's the mustard season in the back, so then it's one long Naziris.
Whatever
But
days
not,
is.
yeah, but not every 30 days.
Even though I'm saying zeros in general is 30.
No, not according to Rebbe. That's not according to Rebbe.
Yeah.
Okay, sagt die Gemara weiter, Tanra Bana, we learned in the Braise. Hareni Nazir, Kol Yemei Chaye. Person says, I'll be a Nazir my entire lifetime. Or Hareni Nazir Olam, I'll be a Nazir forever. So both of these expressions means Harei a Nazir Olam, he'll be a Nazir forever. So this is the halacha of a Nazir Olam, that he remains a Nazir his whole life, but every once in a while he's allowed to cut his hair. Now, if he says, Afila Meya Shana, I'll be a Nazir for 100 years, Afila Elef Shana, or I'll be a Nazir for 1,000 years, Ein Zeh Nazir Olam. This person is not going to have the halacha of a Nazir Olam. A Nazir Olam has this leniency that he's allowed to cut his hair every once in a while when his hair gets too heavy. Ela Nazir li Olam. This person is going to be a Nazir forever. Meaning, because he gave a set amount of time, he said 100 years or 1,000 years, once you give a set amount of time, the halacha of Nazir Olam doesn't apply to you. But you'll actually become a Nazir for that set amount of time, which basically means for your entire lifetime, without the ability to ever cut your hair in between. Taner Rabbana, we learned in another brayso. Hareini Nazir ve'achas. Person says, I'll be a Nazir and once more. What does that mean? Minus time. So he said a Nazir and once more. So he has to count twice Naziris, twice 30 days. If he added ve'oid, and he added besides ve'achas and one, he said ve'oid and more. So now minus shalish, so he has to count 3 Naziris. If he said v'shuv, he added and says and again. So then minus arba. So now he has to count 4 Naziris. In fact, the Gemara Pshita, isn't this obvious? We can see in each one of these expressions that he's adding another Naziris. And says the Gemara, the Chiddush is regarding the case of v'shuv. Because Ma'al the time, I would think to say, V'shuv kikulu. When he's saying V'shuv, what he means to say is he already accepted upon himself 3 Nazirisin, because he said Nazir, Achas, V'oid. And then when he says V'shuv, maybe V'shuv means repeat. Repeat all those 3 again. And V'havi leishis, so therefore that would mean that he had 3, and now he has to repeat 3 over again. He should have 6 Nazirisin. Kamash malan deloy. And therefore it tells you again that we reinterpret his words leniently, that when he said shuv, shuv just means one more. Taner Rabbana, we learned in the Braise, Hareni Nazir, Sumcha says that if you use the following expression for his Naziris, Hein, I'll be a Nazir Hein. So now, this Braise here brings the numbers. A person says the number is not in Lashon Kodesh, but he's saying it by Lashon Yevani, Greek. So Hein means achas, once. Digun is shtayim, twice. Trigun is shalish, 3 times. Tatrigun is arba, that's 4 times. And pentagon is chamish, is 5 times. Okay, so this, so according to some Rishonim, what this means is the Gemara is just telling you that you can use the expression for your Naziris not only in Lashon Kodesh, but in any language. In any language that you say the Naziris, we follow the number of times in that language. There are though other Rishonim that say that these are particular expressions that Chazal sort of established, similar to the concept of a kinui, where you use dafka these expressions and you become a Nazir the number of the times that it says here. Okay, in connection to these expressions of these numbers, the Gemara brings another halacha. Taner Rabbana, we learned in the Braise regarding the house that has a nega in it, and the house becomes tamei from this nega. So bayis ogel, if you have a house that is round. Digun, or a house that's a digun. Digun means that it's square on one side, but on the other side it's round. Trigun I believe is a triangle. Is that what they have it there?
3 corners.
3 corners, basically a triangle, no?
Yeah.
Pentagon. A pentagon is, what do they have it there as it translated? 5 corners, okay. Einai metame binigayim. A house that has all, like the pentagon. Yeah, what? Yeah, that's the same word, okay. So then, einai metame binigayim. You will not become, the house will not become tummy with negayim. Tatrigun, which is a house that has 4 corners, a square or a rectangle, but it has 4 walls, then metame binigayim. That house will become tummy with negayim. My time, what's the reason why only a house with 4 walls becomes tummy? Not if the house has 2 walls or 3 walls or 5 walls, only 4. Because lamato, below in the pasuk it says kirais. It could have written a singular term kir, but it uses a plural term kirais, the walls of the house. And lamailo, earlier on in the pasuk it also says the plural term kir. Instead of writing 1 wall, it says kirais. It says 2 walls. So hare kan arba. So here we see that the Torah uses the expression regarding the house that becomes tummy with a nega that has to have 4 walls to become tummy. But if it has 5, 3, 2, it does not become tummy with a nega. Hadran Allah kol kinuye. The conclusion of the first perek of Masechta Nazir.